Vicky, Marie, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Now, I'm sorry I'm late. I just totally misjudged how long it would take me to get ready. When I sort of planned this live, I just didn't, it takes me a long time, to do my hair and put my face on. Do you know what I mean? I don't just sort of wake up and look good. Do you know what I mean? I have to try, I have to make an effort just to look average. So I sort of, and I washed my hair. Look, I'm giving you all these silly things, but yeah, just totally misjudged how long it would take me to get ready, because it takes me a long time. And then I had to have something to eat because I'm thinking, otherwise I won't be having my breakfast until after I've finished. And then I get all stressed in the middle of the life because I've not eaten, because I don't respond well to no food. So anyway, just totally misjudged how long it would take me. Also, I was listening to another podcast, getting some information to the Decipher podcast, who's very good at giving information about what happens in the trials, etc., because they've actually been at the trial. So yeah, I was doing that, trying to get all the information. God, I don't feel like my eyeshadow is very good, but anyway, because when I do a video especially about Rachel and other cases, that we've been following, I want to make it nice. Let's say nice, I want to do Rachel justice. I don't want to just do it half-heartedly. I want to do it full-heartedly. So let me just put my banner on just to say thank you to everyone before I get started with this. Now, I just want to say I'm feeling a whole lot better about this whole trial now that we've gone through the worst sort of aspects, if you like, the injuries and what happened to poor Rachel that day. And now we're getting to the end of it, very near to the end of this trial, I would say. And one day nearer, one more sleep, 2 more sleeps, 3 more sleeps. That's the way I'm sort of thinking of it. It's just one day nearer to the smile being wiped off this guy's face and him, just disappearing into a prison for the rest of his horrible, miserable, stinking life. So, I'm feeling a lot more positive about it, because I just feel the defence has got nowhere to go with it. I could almost feel sorry for him, except this sank so low, making comments about Rachel's appearance and trying to cast shade on her boyfriend or anybody who'd ever loved Rachel, anyone except Victor. So I can't really feel sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for them. They'll have got paid, won't they? I hope they enjoy their wages for this case. Anyway, so I want to say thank you for caring about Rachel. Thank you for watching, thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing, and special thanks as always to my members, to anyone who buys a Ko-fi, sends a super sticker, or helps to support my channel in any way. Thank you so much. And hello to all of you that are watching at home, you lurkers. Hi to replay crew, and of course I'm going to come and say hello to those who are in the chat at the moment. Okay, so let's take the banner off and have a look at this. So anyone who does not know this case, you may be watching my channel for the first time, I like to give a quick recap. Of course, a lot of you will already know the story, and I'm sorry to repeat it, but just in case anyone is watching who does not know about this, this is Rachel Morin, mother of 5, walking on a trail, the Morin Trail in Bel Air, Maryland, in the United States, just went on one Saturday evening for her habitual run, walk, probably a bit of both, around this trail that she'd been doing since she was a child, walking around this trail, first with her family and then later on alone. It's a very well used trail. There were lots of people around. This attack on Rachel was blatant, was brazen, was just everything. It was vicious. It was a blitz attack. And Rachel was taken off the trail, literally just sort of dragged off and taken to a storm drain tunnel where she was brutally attacked. She'd already been brutally attacked before she was taken off the trail. It's thought that she may have been hit by a shovel. Taken off the trail to this storm drain, attacked and murdered, and also RAPD'd, everything really that you think you could do to someone, this horrible person did to Rachel. Anyway, that person then went on the run, and it took 10 months to catch him. We'll look at him again. We're looking at him until the trial's over, because we want to see. Oh, and the things that are coming out. I mean, talking about true crime, you talk about a lot of horrible people. He is especially horrible. I wonder if he'd be proud of that, to know that he's probably one of the worst people that I've ever discussed. The things he did, the way he tried to cover it up. Oh, wait till you hear the latest. What he was saying to try and, he was changing his identity, using false names, traveling all over America. He'd already murdered someone in his home country of El Salvador. He then attacked somebody, a little girl and her mother in Los Angeles. And then he went to Maryland and murdered Rachel. And that's what we know about. Now, there are rumours that there may be lots of other things, but they're not mentioned at the moment. After the trial, after the verdict, after the sentencing, I think there's a lot more going to come out about Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez. I think there's a lot more to him. But we're also finding out other things about him. This man, he has a daughter. Oh my God. Oh my God, that poor girl. Just feel for her. I mean, she'll only be, he's only in his early 20s himself, so she can't be very old. At the most, she's going to be 7, but she may be, younger than that. And he is the lowest of the low, this guy. Yeah. Because he brings her into it. Wait till you hear his interrogation. We haven't got the video, but I've got, what I took notes from watching Decipher's podcast as to what happened in his interrogation. Hopefully one day we will get to see that interrogation. I'd like to listen to it in Spanish, because he's been speaking Spanish all the way through. He says he can't speak English. He's insisted on an interpreter. So I would like to see that interview, and I would like to hear him speak in Spanish. I would like to hear that. But anyway, he brings his daughter into it. He's more awful than awful. I mean, he's just like, no murderer is a nice person, I suppose, but he's a serial killer in the making. He was been stopped in his tracks. Thank you, God, that he was stopped in his tracks, because that man would definitely have gone on to kill other women. Definitely. The number of attacks he's done that we know of, and other rumours of maybe other things he's done. He was definitely not going to stop, was he? He wasn't going to suddenly turn around and become a model citizen and never do anything again. So due to DNA and the miracle of DNA, he has been stopped in his tracks. Unfortunately, it's too late for Rachel. But at least now he's never going to do that to anybody else. If he's found guilty, of course, I have to keep remembering that he's not been found guilty yet. It's quite difficult, but allegedly that he did. So what we're going to talk about is the last yesterday's events in the trial, and the state has now rested. So it's defence's turn on Monday. Well, that won't take long, will it? What's the defence going to come out with for their summing up or for their what they're even going to say? Just nothing that they can say to defend Victor, or what they can say is just so ridiculous that nobody's going to take any notice of it. In my opinion, allegedly, we'll see. Anyway, so let me say hello to the people that are in chat, and then we'll get on with this. So, hi David, hi Bluebell. Yes, now he's number one son. He is working later, but it is much later, so I don't have to wake him up. So I'll have finished the live by the time I have to wake him up. Well, he should be waking himself up. Trouble is, you can't rely on him to, he sleeps through alarms. He sets about 10 alarms and he sleeps through all of them. But yeah, tying a piece of fishing line to his toe might be a good idea, or, just like playing a drum outside the room. But he can sleep everything, I think. Oh, thank you, Bluebell. That's nice. Bluebell says, I don't feel lovely. I mean, it is first thing. Well, it's not first thing in the morning. It's 9:38 here in Spain. It is pouring down again. We've got storms, there's thunder, there's lightning. That's because the Easter period has started. Honest to God, you could bet money on it. Don't matter if it's Spain and normally it's sunny, but when it's Easter, all the parades are starting and everything for this next couple of weeks, it always rains. Hi, Tracy. Yeah, I do. I agree, Bluebell. How do defence lawyers sleep at night? I know someone's got to do it. And there are times when I've watched cases, and everyone is entitled to that defence, and it's important that people, there isn't a mistrial, that later on people feel that the twonk, whoever it is, has had a good defence. It's important for the future. Because otherwise, when people appeal, they look back, don't they? And they'll say, oh, well, the defence was no good or whatever. So, yes, I know it's important, but I don't like it when they descend to... The reason they've descended to such a low in Rachel's case of, trying to make her boyfriend look suspicious and, commenting about Rachel encouraging the attention of a lot of men, etc. The reason they've done that is because they've got nothing. I know that. I understand that. And that's probably all they had left. And they've got to give some sort of defence. But honestly, some of the things the defence have said, I've wondered if they were doing it on purpose to make him look even more guilty. But anyway, you'll see what I mean when we go through this. So, yeah, I didn't know, Bluebell, that he had a child. I've only just found that out. A daughter. A daughter! Oh my God, that poor girl. Well, thank God she isn't growing up with him. It makes you, he's such a horrible person. You wouldn't think, she wouldn't have been safe. I wouldn't have thought, if he had anything, if he was seeing her. A procrastinating toe rag. How could he? He definitely speaks English. I think. There's no way he doesn't speak English. He might not be brilliant at English, but yeah, he's negotiated his way around America. And I know a lot of places in America do speak Spanish, but I still think he must speak. I could tell on that video when he was being arrested by that really good police woman. And, this is what people do. I said I've done it myself. If you're not wearing your seatbelt, the police stop me. Sometimes I pretend I can't speak Spanish because sometimes it doesn't always work. But, you think, oh, God, you don't want to fine, obviously. So, I've done that. And, it's interesting because then the police, they talk between themselves like in Spanish and they don't know that you can understand what they're saying. That's quite interesting sometimes. But yeah, not for, obviously not for a bad crime like murder. I'm talking about not wearing a seatbelt or going through a red light or maybe speeding a bit or something. And you get caught out sometimes because they always say to you, because obviously I don't look Spanish, so they always say to me, makes it sound like I do it all the time, but I've lived here a long time. So over all these years, you know, I have had, even sometimes the police just stop you for a routine check or whatever. And I always weigh it up and I think, should I say I speak Spanish or not? Because sometimes you can get better treatment if you do speak Spanish. Other times they just think you're on holiday. If it's something like just going through a red light or when I say just going through a red light, I mean when it's changing from orange to red. I mean, I never go through a red light, but sometimes, you know, when it's on that border and you think, oh, I think I can get through in time. Well, that's what I do, because there's certain places here where if you miss the first one, there's another load of them after that, and if you've missed the first one, you get stopped at every light. So if you're coming up to the first light and it's just changing to, you know, it's amber and you're not supposed to go through, are you, when it's changing to red? I've done that and I have been stopped by the police for doing that. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is sometimes it's better to say you don't speak Spanish, and other times it's not. And so one time in particular that I'm thinking of, it was funny because I said I could, they said, oh, you speak Spanish. That's how they, and I'm like, oh, no, lo siento, vacaciones. Like I'm on holiday. And then they started speaking to me in English. So this guy spoke English anyway. So it doesn't always work. But anyway, to be fair, on that occasion, I didn't get a fine or anything. Something started happening on their radios. I could hear them talking and discussing things. And then they just said, oh, you're free to go. Don't go through any more red lights or something like that. So I forgot why I started telling this. Oh, so that's what I think Victor's been doing. I know you can't kid a kid. I saw him on that arrest video. Sometimes the trouble is that when you're trying to pretend that you can't understand, it's quite difficult sometimes because you know what they're saying, but you've got to pretend you don't know what they're saying. I knew exactly that sometimes he was trying to pretend he didn't understand them, but it was clearly obvious that he did understand them. So as I say, maybe he's not brilliant at English, but I can't believe he doesn't speak any English. I don't believe it. Hi, Tracy. Okay. So where am I going now with this? I've completely forgotten what I was just about to talk about. Well, talk about the day. So he's been on trial. Oh, that's right. He roamed around America. We know that he's been in Los Angeles. He came illegally over the border. He attempted 3 times before he finally managed to do it. He snuck over the border. He then sort of, we don't know everywhere that he went, but he's been using different names. He's been using public transport, and, you know, gone, and he was eventually arrested in Tulsa, wasn't he? Not 24 hours from Tulsa, but actually in Tulsa. And it's interesting because he's another mainstay of his defense is he was never in Maryland. He's never been to Maryland in where Rachel was murdered. He doesn't even know where it is. He has no clue. So he's never been there. It's not him. Definitely not him. And so we'll find out that in over on the last day when the detective was the detective and the forensic examiner, the DNA expert, when Victor was challenged about his DNA that was found all over and inside, unfortunately, Rachel, he said it must have been planted. It must have been planted there. Well, he's never been there. He didn't know Rachel. He never met Rachel. So if his DNA was on Rachel, somebody else planted that DNA. Must have done, because he's never even been to Maryland. He doesn't know where it is. He has no clue. So that's basically what we're going to talk about. First of all, I'm just going to show you this quick news item. Yep, he certainly did, Bluebell, and they extracted his DNA from that. But anyway, that's because he is a total shit, isn't he? That just sums him up altogether, doesn't it? He is a piece of SHIT, and he did an SHIT right near to Rachel's body. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Oh, we find out he's even more disgusting. We'll find out quite a bit about how disgusting he is. Right, let's have a look. Here we are. So let's just have a look at this news item. This is WBFF Fox. I mean, you know, it's almost funny, really. So he's saying he hasn't got any family in Maryland, as far as he doesn't know any of these people that have testified to say that they're his cousins. I think it was Edith, one of them. She even spent Christmas with him, had him in her house at Christmas. She must feel sick now knowing about it, what he's done. But he says he doesn't know her. He doesn't know her, never met her. And when photographic evidence was provided, he said it must have been photoshopped. This is his defence. This is how pathetic his defence. Look at this. That's not a very nice shirt, is it? But or hoodie or whatever it is. But yeah. So these were clothes that his cousin submitted that had his DNA all over them. But he says someone planted that DNA. Wasn't him. He's never been there. These are not his clothes. Somebody else planted his DNA. It's easy to do, according to him. It's easy. There are people who don't like him and that might want to harm him. Poor Victor.
Late 2023.
This photo of him in this yellow hat, his other cousin gave him that hat for Christmas. So he had this photo taken with this cousin, I think she's called Edith, in her Maryland home. But he says, no, it wasn't him. Wasn't him. Well, no, he says it is him. It is him. The photo is him. But it's photoshopped because he's never been to Maryland. So, yeah, look at that cheesy grin. Disgusting man. Horrible, horrible man. Oh, he is one of the most horrible, isn't he? Just thank God. 2 places as well. But no, he didn't, according to him. No.
They're collecting more belongings.
God, I love that arrest video. Honest to God, it's like I could sit and watch it on, just watch it on repeat over and over again, just seeing his face as he realizes, you know, that they know it's him, and he tries to lie his way out of it. And, you know, it's just, I just love watching it. And that, you know, all the police that are involved, foul man, absolute foul man. What he did to her, he injured her so badly. Apparently, her feet were the only things that weren't injured. You know, you try and be, you know, you try not to wish ill on anyone, but you can't help but hope he does get some justice in jail, can't you? You know, that he does, you know. Oh no, I shouldn't wish harm on anybody, but do you know what? It's so difficult in this case.
With DNA evidence as the state's lead forensic specialist.
So here we've got Rachel's Apple Watch that was smashed. We've got her earpods that were ripped out, and we've got this shovel. Now there's a bit of controversy as to where, well, not controversy, but it's not clear. Where did he get this shovel from? You know, some people think he picked it up from a place that's in that Morin trail, you know, that he stole it. I think if he would have bought it, there would probably be CCTV of him buying it in some store or another. But this is the shovel that the witness that saw him thought was a walking stick, and wondered why, you know, he had a walking stick. But he didn't know who it was at the time, because the terrain is flat. It's not like a place where you would really need a walking stick. And of course, Victor is a young man, so he was probably wondering why this person had what he thought was a walking stick, but it turned out later it was probably this shovel. Hey Daniel, happy Saturday to you as well. So, I think that's it for that, yeah.
I'm cocky.
So, what I'm going to read out now are the notes that I made from the Decipher's podcast, because Decipher, Tia, I think her name is, she's been actually going to the trial. She's taken very, very good notes that she goes over. So, I was listening to her podcast and I've taken notes on her podcast. So, thank you, Tia, for giving such detailed notes of what happened in the last day of the trial. So when the last day, which was yesterday, started, this detective Philip Bolden said that when this video was shown of Victor being interviewed with an interpreter. Now, well, say an interpreter, someone who could speak Spanish. I don't think they were like an official interpreter. I think it was another law enforcement official. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So, but as I say, I would love to see these videos and listen to Victor actually speaking in Spanish, so I could get a real judgment of him. I mean, I think I know exactly what he's like already, but, it's just intriguing me to hear him actually speak. So, yeah, started off saying, no idea where Maryland was. He's never been to Maryland. When he was shown, confronted with the photos, as I say, he said they were probably photoshopped. He admitted it was him in the photo, but he's never been in Maryland, so he's no idea how his DNA would get there or why they would have photos of him. And also something that Tia mentioned, that as he was talking, every time he told a lie, he was swaying backwards and forwards in his chair. So that, again, I would like to see that. So when the police said to him, this woman is your cousin, isn't she? That picture of him he said, I don't know. And then he said, I don't have any family in Maryland. In fact, I think he said he didn't even have any family. And as he's saying it, he's swaying in the chair. So then the policeman said to him, could you have been there, but you didn't realise where you were? So, did you, I mean, could you have been there and not known you'd been there? So I suppose that's a good question to ask him. Obviously, it's ridiculous that he could be somewhere and not know where he was. But I suppose if he was just travelling around, did he just get off a coach and not realise the name of where he was? Anyway, he said, I don't know. I don't think so. And then they started talking about DNA, and the detective was saying to him, do you know what DNA is? It's saliva, it's semen, it's blood, etc. And he said yes, that he did know. And then the detective asked him at some point, do you have an identical twin? Because the only two people, of course, that could possibly have the same DNA are identical twins. So he said to him, have you got an identical twin? He said, no, not that I know of, probably he said. And he said, do you understand the implications of your DNA being found? And he said, yes, but it must have been planted there. Wasn't me. Somebody planted it. And he then said, as he said, he has never hurt anyone in that way. He could never hurt anyone in that way. He said, DNA can be planted. You can take a person's sweat or hair and plant it somewhere to cause trouble for them. That's what he said. So apparently that's what you can do. You can take a bit of someone's sweat or a hair and plant it. And he said that he is not capable of doing that kind of damage when he was shown the photos, etc. He said he is a man of God, and he didn't do it. He serves God, he said. He serves God. Do you know, I hope God's looking down on him and saying that. See, it just all makes it even worse, doesn't it? You know, if he just admitted it, he could have saved Rachel's family a trial. He could have saved all these gory details coming out, and he could have been genuinely repentant, couldn't he? If he really was a man of God, who just had a psychotic episode, I think they would have been better off. You know, I mean, I'm glad they didn't, because I want this man to be found guilty and put away forever. But really, I think if I would have been Victor's defence, which would never have happened in a million years, because I just would have probably punched him or something. But I think I would have gone more that way, admitting that he'd done it and been there. So once you knew all that DNA was there, what's the point? What's the point in saying you weren't there? You know, anyway, so the best thing really, to me, I think the best defence that Victor could have had, you know, was to plead guilty. The best chance he had of maybe getting parole one day, obviously he's still going to get life, but the best chance he had of getting any sort of parole would be to admit to it, to claim a psychotic episode, you know, rather than this, that he was never there and his DNA was planted there. Did his solicitor, his lawyer, actually advise him to do that? I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? So yeah, he says he's a man of God. He serves God. There's no way he could do that sort of damage to anybody, and he never knew Rachel, and he was never in Maryland anyway in the first place. And then, do you know what he said then? Oh, bye Tracy, have a good day. Do you know what he said then? He said that somebody must have taken DNA from his daughter, who is in El Salvador, I imagine, apart from anything. So somebody's taken DNA from his daughter, who, as I say, I imagine is in El Salvador. I don't know actually where she is, but she's not in Maryland, is she? And planted it on Rachel to frame Victor. That's what somebody's done. Taken the DNA from his daughter, according to Victor, planted it on Rachel. So he said, some people don't like me. So the detective said, why would they not like you? And he said that the only bad thing he's ever done was maybe to his daughter's mother, you know, I don't know, breaking up with her or whatever he did to her. And it was her who did it. So I mean, it's like getting like Jack and Ori, isn't it? I mean, it's like, what? So, yeah, that's what he said, apparently. The mother of his daughter doesn't like him for whatever reason. So she's taken the DNA from his daughter, all the way from El Salvador. I'm not quite sure how she's managed that. And planted it on Rachel in Maryland. Of course, that must be what happened. Why didn't we all? That's the clue we all missed. Of course. God. Anyway, so yeah, the detective said to him, look, you know, maybe it's the time to admit what you've done. Good people do bad things sometimes, just as bad people do good things sometimes. Anyway, he wasn't going with it. He's still saying, no, that's what he kept saying. No, the DNA was planted. I've never been there. I don't have any family there. I don't even know these people who are saying that they are my cousins. They're nothing to do with me. I only saw them like, you know, years ago when we were little kids. So what did he say? He said he didn't know who Edith or Jose were. So Edith and Jose, who stood up in court the day before testifying that he'd stayed with them, you know, he'd sofa surfed in Jose's house. He'd spent Christmas at Edith's house. He's now saying he didn't know where they were. They were lying. Who they are? They're lying. He's never seen them before in his life. And the selfie that was taken with Edith in her house must have been photoshopped. So he said he'd only heard about them when he was a kid. You know, he didn't know anything about them now. He'd never seen them for years. And he said he could never get to Maryland because how could he travel there? How could he get to Maryland? Well, you know, by bus, coach. Do you remember when we were first looking at this and we realised that he'd travelled, right, whoever, because we didn't know who he was then. We were wondering, you know, how he'd got across the country. But of course, there's so many different ways, isn't there? You can get a plane. You could drive there because we didn't know if he was driving or not at the time. Anyway, it seems like he's not driving. But it's easy to get a coach across America, isn't it? Greyhound bus. And also then, because there is a door cam video of him coming in and out of Jose's house, his cousin Jose's house where he stayed, there's actual door cam video of him leaving and coming back, leaving and coming back. So he was asked about that. He said, I don't know. No idea how that happened. Probably thought that had been engineered. And also the policeman said to him, we've got your phone, because he left a load of stuff there at Jose's house. We've got your phone, we've got clothes, we've got your DNA. And he said, it can't be mine. Can't be mine. It's planted again. And he said he didn't know how he's... Oh, that's right. When he was arrested in Tulsa and he was asked for his address and his phone number, he didn't know them. Do you know, he's got, convenient amnesia, this guy. What he does is when he can't answer the question because he knows it'll implicate him, he either pretends he can't speak English or he just pretends he doesn't know. He cracks dumb. I mean, he is dumb in a lot of ways, but he's sort of wily like a fox, isn't he? You know, to have escaped detection for as long as he has been sort of this sort of sinister intelligence about him, but really ultimately he's been caught, so he's not as intelligent as he thinks he is. So so of course, despite him saying he didn't even know where he lived in Tulsa, the police found his address. They went there and they found, a few things like bus tickets, and they took control of all his devices that were there and his phone, etc. But another thing that really definitively ties him to his cousin, because at the end of the day, if you're looking on you're supposed to weigh up all the, you have to listen to what the defendant says, and it's the onus is on the prosecution to prove that what they're saying is a lie, isn't it? That's the way justice works. It's not up to someone to prove they didn't do it. It's up to the prosecution to prove they did do it. Anyway, one sort of very telling thing is that when the FBI visited his cousin Jose after Rachel's murder, they left a card. I mean, when they visited him, it wasn't because they suspected him or Victor or anything. They were visiting all the homes in the area. I think that was why anyway. I don't think it was because they particularly suspected him. Maybe, they were just doing a door knock, probably going around. And they left an FBI card, they left a card with a contact number. And that when Victor disappeared, that card disappeared from that house. And where was it found? In Victor's house in Tulsa. So he'd kept that FBI card. Why had he kept it, I wonder? Because really it would have been more sensible of him to rip it up and throw it away somewhere. But he didn't. He took it from Jose's house, where it had been left on the sofa, and it was found in his house in Tulsa. So that's another thing that is, he's saying he's never been to Jose's house, doesn't know who Jose is, but where's he got the FBI card from? I know. It's just like, so apparently he waived his right to silence or whatever it is, and he decided to talk. It's because he thought he was clever enough to get away with it, didn't he? Just Oh, we'll never understand. Well, we can't get our head around these kind of people, of course. So, yeah, Jose lived in Temple Hills in Maryland, and he had been given this FBI card. And that's very significant that the FBI card was found in Victor's house in Tulsa. Wonder how it got there. I think, do you know what? Do you think that his daughter's mother went and got the FBI card from Jose's house and took it all the way to Tulsa and planted it there? That's probably what he would say, idiot. Okay, so then the telling thing, or the most important thing that came up, was the DNA results. So when the DNA expert came to speak, sorry, I don't know her name. I didn't write her name down. But she used words like centillion and octillion. You know, this is when the DNA results were presented, that is how these sort of massive numbers, this is how it has to be Victor's DNA. Every other male was excluded, that because lots of males were tested. There was Rachel's boyfriend. There may have been other men that knew Rachel, I'm sure, who maybe came forward and gave their DNA voluntarily. There were lots of people who gave their DNA voluntarily because they had nothing to hide, and they were all cleared, but not Victor's. So Victor could not be excluded. And in fact, these words like centillion and octillion, you know, I'm not very good with numbers, etc., were used to say, you know, the chances of it not being him, if you like. So apparently was one person, well, now I'm rubbish with numbers, as you know. So one person to the 980 octillion, that was the match probability. So I think we could say, yeah, it was Victor. But it wasn't, you know, don't forget, he says that the mother of his daughter planted that DNA because she doesn't like him, apparently. Now, something, so the other things that they found, because his cousin that he'd never met, Edith, that he stayed with at Christmas, but he didn't really, it was photoshopped, it was lies she was telling about him, according to him. She, of course, handed over some things, and apparently the toothbrush that was handed it over had 3 contributors on it. So he'd been sharing his toothbrush with 2 other people, and there was a hair in it. Disgusting. Had 1 hair in it. Anyway, all these other clothes and belongings that his other cousin, who he'd never met, according to him, handed over, they all had his DNA on it. The shoes, the trainers, the shirts, etc. So now it was interesting what Tia was saying on Decipher. I haven't heard anything from my other source yet, but I wonder if they feel the same way. That there was almost a relief on this day because it just felt, you know, one thing is, it feels like the prosecution is like saving up the DNA results because you cannot argue with those results. And what Tia said was that for the first time, you know, because Victor's been loving this. He's been loving being out of prison, probably. You know, putting a suit on, preening his hair, thinking he's great, smirking you know, at the wrong times, you know what I mean, where nobody should be smirking, perking up when he saw a video of Rachel, you know, like, perking up because he's like, he'd be reliving it all, you know, because someone like Rachel, of course, would never be interested in him, would he? Would she? So he's like, you know, perked up when he saw the video. Just horrible, isn't it, what this man did to this lovely woman? This horrible, stinking, nasty, and smelly and dirty, apparently, man did to Rachel. Horrible. And anyway, apparently the DNA results for the first time did wipe the smile off his face. And he did start to shrink down in his chair a little bit. He's probably finally realising, all his lies, all the, did he really think? I mean, how thick have you got to be to think that the police are going to believe, or a jury or a judge or anyone is going to believe that, that was your DNA. Yes, it was, but you were never there. And it must have been your daughter's DNA, that the mother of your daughter, because she hates you, had travelled miles to plant a murder scene in Maryland, of all places. So how did he even ever imagine that would be taken seriously? So he's a proper thicko again, isn't he? Anyway, so apparently it did wipe the smile off his face. He sunk down in his chair. And for the first time since the trials began, he didn't look so cocky, so confident, and to be enjoying it as much as he was enjoying it. So now he will know. I think he will 100% know. I mean, we'll find out. So the defence have got to speak yet. Do you know what? I feel like the defence had just... Who was that other case where the defence just said, oh, nothing to say? Was it Richard Allen and the Delphi case? There was a case not long ago where everyone was eagerly awaiting for the defence to say something. And they literally just sort of said, oh, nothing, not got anything to say. So what is the defence going to say? I just don't know. But anyway, we'll see. We'll find out. I have a feeling this trial, I certainly hope so for the family's sake, might be over even before because it's planned for 2 weeks. We've had a week of it. And that is the worst week, I think. With the details of Rachel's injuries and all those kind of things, and her daughters having to give testimony and a boyfriend, of course, at the time, and all the people that so hearing all the details of what happened to Rachel has been difficult, hasn't it? Especially for a family. So hopefully the worst of it is over now, and it's just, free wheel now until the actual verdict. So I wonder if it's going to finish before 2 weeks are up. But there's another week planned in. We'll see what happens. What was the other thing that I wanted to tell you? Oh, yeah. So something else that has come up, that then at the end, as everyone was thinking, that trial day was just finishing off and it'd be reconvened on Monday. The defence then stood... Let me just find it, see if I can find an article on it. But apparently the defence then said they wanted the kidnapping charge to be rescinded. So because Victor has been accused not only of red rum, but also kidnapping, because he took her off the trail, it seems. And the defence stood up and said they wanted that claim or that charge to be removed. So yeah, he's been accused of kidnapping, RAPE, and homicide, but he's pled not guilty to all 3 of those. Now, I can't find any mention on here, but I just caught it in the podcast, or in the podcast that I was watching with Tia. And she said that they stood up and asked for that to be dismissed and said that it was not kidnapping because she was only dragged 150 feet. So they didn't think that was far enough for it to be considered kidnapping. Oh my God, so now I hate this defence team even more. So if you're dragged off 150 feet, that's not counted as kidnapping, because as far as the defence is concerned, it's not really that long. Not really that far. So, I wonder if they'd feel that way if it was their daughter or their mum or their sister who was dragged 150 feet off a trail. Would they think of it as kidnapping then, I wonder? Good God. So that's what they said. Now, I can't find anything at the moment on here. Let's see. Yeah, not really that far. You just end up hating them even more. So, you know, just unbelievable. Yeah, I can't find anything on here, which is a bit annoying. Anyway, can't find anything on here, but this is what Tia said in her podcast, Decipher YouTube channel. So that's nice of him to say that, isn't it? Oh yeah, it's only 150 feet, it's not kidnapping. But as you say, David, as well, if you hold someone against their will, doesn't matter if it's 2 feet, does it, away? It's still kidnapping to hold someone against their will, or it could be considered as such. This is it, these defense lawyers, they stoop so low, and as if it'll make any difference. So what they're saying is, remove the kidnapping charge, but he's still got RAPE and homicide charge, so it's not going to make any difference to his sentence anyway, is it? Not going to make any difference to his sentence. So why on earth would to do that? It just, I cannot wait, as I'm sure Rachel's family the same, just cannot wait for the verdict in this. Hopefully by this time next week, hopefully this guy will have been found guilty, and then we'll be just waiting for the sentencing, I suppose. I don't think they'll sentence him immediately, will they? I don't think so anyway, but so that's where we are. We knew he was a twonk, but I think the more we find out he's even a worse twonk than we ever imagined in the first place. He's also a thicko because he thinks that people will believe he was never in Maryland, even though his cousins have stood up and testified that he was. But he doesn't even know them, apparently. He doesn't know who they are. No idea who they are. He wasn't there. His ex-girlfriend was there, the mother of his child, planting his DNA apparently, but he was never there. God. Anyway, it's not going to work, is it? Well, I doubt if it's going to work. So we're just sort of one day nearer. I just think every day is one day nearer the end of all this. And, then maybe Rachel's family can start to try and heal, start to get some resolution in this case, knowing that he's been found guilty. It must be awful when there's a trial hanging over your head like that, and you've got to hear all these gory details and this, that and the other, and go and give your testimony like her daughters had to do. How awful, So anyway, at least all that bit is over now. And that's why it's so important that this trial is sort of conducted in the right way. I think after the trial is finished and after he's found guilty, hopefully, there's a lot more going to come out. But I think the police have done the right thing, keeping things secret. And there are other things that they still haven't released. They just want this trial to be successful, this man to be found guilty, to be put away for the rest of his life where he cannot hurt any other woman again. That's what's priority at the moment. But I really do feel that after this trial finishes, there might be lots of other things come out about this twonk, to be honest. So, but we'll see. I think there's a lot more to know about Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez. A lot more to be known about him, but probably just couldn't be released because they didn't want to prejudice his trial. He's already claiming that, isn't he, that his trial's prejudiced because everybody knew about it, his high profile case, etc. But yeah, Okay, now I'm working on two. Oh my God, I've got a hell of a story. Well, I say a story, it's not a story, it's true. I've got two Spanish cases, but that involve British people that I've got sort of that I want. I'm just deciding sort of how to do them. I probably won't do them in a live. I would make a video and present it as a premiere of both of them. They're both very important cases. One, oh my God, it will. You may know about the case, or you may not, but I knew sort of a little bit about it. I'd heard of this person, a serial killer, a British serial killer in Spain. I'd heard about him, but I didn't know the full story, and I found out now the full story. Oh my God. Just honestly makes you wonder. I mean, talk about immigrants flying over the border or from, South America to America to commit crimes. How many British people have fled to Spain to avoid justice? They come over to Spain and this particular person came over to Spain and caused havoc. And I'm going to check it, but I think the only serial killers Spain has ever had have been British. How awful is that? In fact, let me have a look right now while I'm on. Spain is not, some countries have more serial killers than others for various reasons. But I don't know why, but Spain hasn't had, even in the sort of golden years for serial killers before DNA, there wasn't really, oh, hang on, here's one. Oh no, these are, there's been a couple. Yeah, maybe I need to look into that. Now, Spanish justice is very strange, let's say. 15 years is the sentence you can expect for murder in Spain. 15 years. Oh. Sorry, I've started reading these things out. Oh, I shouldn't be doing that. This is my research that I've got to do. I shouldn't be doing that on air. Can't be doing my research on air. So 15 years. Now, I don't know if that's 15 years per person. So if you're a serial killer in Spain, maybe you kill 2 people, you get 30 years. I don't know. But I do know of a serial killer who's got over 50 years. So the way they work out the sentences in Spain, it's really sort of complex. So it depends if any of the people involved or the person involved was a minor, was a underage. The person who was killed, that affects the sentencing. If there was any sex motive in it, but like just your blanket sort of murder conviction is 15 years. Which is not much, is it, for taking a life? So anyway, I'm going to look into these 2 Spanish cases, but Spanish cases involving British people, and I hope you find them as interesting as I do. But of course, I will be sticking with the Rachel Morin trial. There's a lot to talk about at the moment. I want to I've released. I want to really look at the Richard Allen interviews, but I sort of want to and I don't want to. I've been watching those, and to me, oh my God, they just make it so obvious then that he is guilty. Anyone who had any doubts about Richard Allen, surely after watching those and hearing the phone calls and that, there can't be in any doubt. Some people have commented that, the voice, his manipulation of his wife, he's a classic manipulator. But anyway, and I think his videos probably weren't released early because again they wanted him to have a fair trial. But of course these videos were shown to the jury, they just weren't shown to the public before. So Okay, so thank you for being with me this Saturday morning, and maybe back later. So I expect I'll be back at some point. Now, tomorrow's Sunday. I'm hoping to do the cheerful sort of Sunday service. I just don't know what time yet because of various reasons. But at some point tomorrow, I will be on with a cheerful Sunday service, but I don't know the time yet. So thank you for caring about Rachel. Thank you for the orange hearts. I know that's Rachel's favourite flower, apparently, was a tiger lily. And so orange hearts have been, let me see, I need to put some up. I have to go on to the other part of the stream. I can't do them from StreamYard. Sorry, there's something popping up there. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Hang on. Yeah, if you can, put some orange hearts up for support for Rachel and her family. I've got to go into the actual stream. Oh, thank you, Bluebell and David. It takes me forever to find the bloody ones, to find the hearts. Maybe I should put an orange heart in the members emojis. They're easier to find. Ah, there they are. Yeah, have a good day or a good afternoon or a good evening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Rachel especially. And justice for Rachel. Justice for Rachel. It's coming very soon. Thank you. Bye.